Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Come on in. I hope you guys are having a good day. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is so good to see you. I hope you all are having a great day. This is Money in the Morning. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is our daily economic elevation training where I talk to you guys about economics from a lot of different angles so that you can understand how wealth works. You can understand how money works, how money affects your life in ways that you can't even imagine, how money steps into many spaces that you haven't thought about. And my job, my goal is, as your finance teacher, to make sure you really see all the money that's sort of floating around you so you can maximize your economic possibilities, your financial potential, and just get to where you want to get to in life. There's so much happening in the world. And one of the things that I think can occur is that we can sometimes get trapped in this false idea that there are no opportunities. We can get caught in this false belief that if you're born poor, you have to stay that way, or this idea, which unfortunately plagues a lot of us in our community, that if massa don't want you to do good, you can't do good. If the Democrats don't get elected, then you're doomed. You're gonna vote or die, or whatever it is that people tell us. I don't know, but either way, though, I'm not here to threaten your life, and I'm just here to tell you that there are things that I think should be done to put ourselves in a better situation. And most of it isn't just about who you vote for and all that stuff. That's fine. You can do what you want. We've talked about that. But also, it comes down to a lot of other areas in terms of what you're doing with your economics. So, anyway, I hope everybody's doing good. Let me see. Give me a quick yes in the chat if you can hear me okay. Let me know if my audio is good. I want to say hello to Justin Pender and who else do I see in here? I see Chelsea. Good morning, Chelsea. Let me see. I'm looking. I want to look at the chat. Let's see here. Errol from Pompano Beach. Good morning, Errol. Errol's a smart brother. I work with him a lot. I like him. He's a great guy. Chelsea. Let's see. Natasha, Nicole, Tony. I see you in there. Natasha, are you out of Phoenix? Is that Phoenix? Oh, it's Greenville, South Carolina. I'm sorry, Natasha. Let's see. Who else I see? I see Rhonda Bagby. Good morning, Rhonda from South Jersey. Good morning to everybody. What I'm going to do, actually, really quick, if that's okay, is I'm going to send a text link out to those of you that are on the text list, or to give kind of a wake up call. As you guys know, we do Money in the Morning every morning, 7 days a week. Because if you're serious about your money, how many of you are serious about your economics? Give me a yes in the chat if you are. If you consider yourself to be serious about your wealth. Give me a yes in the chat if you consider yourself to be serious about your legacy. Give me a yes in the chat if you consider yourself to be serious about your life. Everybody who's serious, raise your hand. Say something in the chat. Let me know how serious you are. So here's the thing. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Um, one of the things that I learned a long time ago is that if I wanted to be successful in life, I had to be serious about my success. And what that seriousness did was it made me realize just how unserious the world is. How there are so many people who will talk about what they want to do, but they don't actually do it. They say they want to do this and do that, and they don't. And I thought about this when I was 18 years old, and I looked at how many older people older than me. If you listen to people, when I was 18, I would listen to people that I thought were really old, like maybe 35, right? Or 40. And I would listen to them. And one thing I noticed when I was 18, and this isn't the important little point that can help you, maybe to help your son or help your kids. Um, I noticed that most of them, if you ask them, like, what is your life like now? And how would you compare your life now to what you thought your life was going to be when you got older? Usually there was no connect. Usually you would hear from some older person who says, "Yeah, when I was 18, I wanted to become a millionaire." And it's like, "Well, what do you do now?" "Oh, I drive a garbage truck." Okay, nothing wrong with driving a garbage truck. Shout out to the truck drivers and the garbage truck drivers, and I mean, we need all that, right? But that's not quite typically the same as being a millionaire, right? It's most garbage men are not millionaires secretly, but again, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we need people to work hard. Hardworking people are always valuable, so I hope we can make sure we understand that. But still, though, I would say, well, how did you plan to be over here, but you over there? Like, what happened? How did you? What did you think? Is this where you wanted to be? Now, I get it if you say, this is where I wanted to get to and this is where I am. But I noticed this when I was 18 years old. I said, most people don't end up where they thought they were going to be. And it made me think about something that really affects me. And by the way, if I sound a little stopped up, please forgive me. I got that cold from our trip to Egypt. We took that group trip to Egypt, and I got I think I caught a little bit of a bug. Hopefully, I ain't got the what do they call it, the yellow fever. Hopefully, it's nothing that bad. But anyway, so forgive me if I sound a little bit off today. My apologies for that. But I just kind of thought about that, and I thought about even I saw this clip of a person making fun of how people are when they have ADHD. I was diagnosed with that when I was a kid. When I was little, my mother's teacher went to her and said, sorry, my teacher went to my mother and said, "Your son is very active. He might be considered hyperactive. When he goes to public school, they're probably going to try to put him on medication." She said, "There's nothing wrong with him. He's smart. He just doesn't, he's distracted. He's easily distracted," right? So I've dealt with ADHD my whole life. I never took medication for it. I'm not a doctor though, so I'm not telling people how to deal with their own situation, but I never took medication for it. But here's what I learned. I learned that even in the midst of my ADHD, that one of the problems with the ADHD is that your overactive mind can distract you. You start one thing, then you jump to something else, then you jump to something else, you jump to something else, and I know people like that. How many of you know people that are just absolute geniuses? They can't stick to nothing. They start something new every month, and they'll do it for a while, then they'll jump to something else. Anybody know people like a lot of you? Some of you are in this room. Let's just be honest. Like I mean, we all go through that. I go through that. That's my biggest challenge. If I was to lay out for you all the thoughts and ideas that I have, it would blow your mind because I have pages and pages of, oh, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. And sometimes you even see it. You see symptoms of it when I'm talking to you. I'll literally be talking about this, then I'll talk about that, then I'll talk about this, then I'll talk about that. That's sort of a glimpse into the weird, insane mind of Boyce Watkins. But here's the thing. I learned that having an overactive mind can be an asset because you're always inspired by things. You always see things. You have insights into things. But what I also learned is that there has to be some degree of intentionality about where you need to be, where you want to go. Right. So what I do is I use little tools. Never took any meds, but I use little tools like meditation. I meditate and I say, okay, boys, calm down. Let's think about where you're trying to go. Let's pick our priorities. Let's pick our spots. Let's pick the top two or three things that matter and make sure that every day we're pouring into those top two or three things. We're going to have a bunch of unfinished projects for sure, but this one project's going to get done. This other project's going to definitely get done. The other stuff may or may not get done because that's going to be a product of my ADHD. What else? I have checklists. Every morning I get up. I mean, this is not something you do one time and it lasts forever. I do this every single morning. Every single morning I say, no, we're going to live a day of intentionality. Intentionality means I don't want to be somebody who is making plans to go conquer the world and every day we're coming up short. I don't want to be a person that has all these great ideas and then I look back and I see an empty slate. I don't want to be like that. So we start every day with intentionality. I specifically write down, okay, we're going to do this first, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. And the whole day as my brain is like, okay, be like, okay, boys, calm down. Let's go back to the checklist. Are we doing the basics, right? So that's one little thought that I wanted to share with you about sort of life planning and kind of getting yourself where you want to be and doing what you want to do. Most people in life I notice just don't accomplish the things they say they want to do. They don't reach their potential. And so if you want to know why I decided I wanted to do money in the morning 7 days a week, is because I said, if you want to be successful, you have to be a little bit of an extremist. You have to push. You got to do some stuff that's a little bit weird, a little bit different. You don't want to fit in. The worst thing that can happen to you if you're trying to be extraordinarily successful is for you to fit in a world full of mediocre people. Am I right or am I right? Like the worst thing that can happen to you if you have extraordinary ideas, extraordinary potential, extraordinary possibilities is for you to settle back and give up and become average so that you can have more friends. So here's the truth. This is a reality, and I'm gonna get to the topic that was on my mind in a second. Most of the time, the more success you want to have, the weirder you have to be. The more you're gonna have to deviate a little bit. And so with money in the morning, I said, no, I don't want to do this once a month or once a week. I want to do it every day, every single day. If we want to be good at economics and we want to be the best in the world, which we're going to be, we have to be crazy about it. We have to really go hard. We have to really just think about this every day, every day, every day. Repetition, 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 repetition. That's how Kobe Bryant became a great basketball player. Is he go in the gym and repeat the same shot 3,000 times, and then eventually, when it's game time, he was able to execute. Shout out to RIP to Kobe. Okay, so that's it. We're gonna become the Kobe Bryants of economics, right? Give me a yes if you think that works for us. Like I want us to be the LeBron Jameses of finance. I want us to be the Michael Jordans of black wealth. I want us to be the Simone Bileses of black wealth and economics. That's where we're going to be. We're going to be at that extreme level of success, and this is what it takes. And this is my belief. And I hope that this is something that you'll consider because I want you to win. I don't want you to be like all the people that set a goal and never reach the goal. That's not a fun life. That's a very disappointing life. That's a very sad life. I want you to have a happy life. So anyway, let me keep going. A couple housekeeping issues before we move on. Number one, later on tonight, we are going to do our stock options training. If you want to join and learn about how we're generating income by selling stock options, it's really fun. A lot of students love it. There's thousands of you there in that class. Feel free to go to drboyceprime.com, drboyceprime.com. We are going to meet tonight at I think it's 8 o'clock. I got to double check that time, but anyway, we're going to meet tonight, and I'm going to do the moneymaker grid and show you where the money's at. And so feel free to go to DR Boyce Prime if you'd like to join us. Second of all, tomorrow, Cody Ransom, who came in yesterday, who's a Black Wall Street expert, is going to do we're going to do a sort of a free fireside chat sort of event Friday night at 8 o'clock, where he's going to really break down Black Wall Street and the stuff that you're not going to learn from any movie or any book, because he actually lives there. He runs the Black Wall Street Liquid Lounge, and he's just a brilliant historian, and I love this guy. So he's going to be doing that thing tomorrow night. If you want to be invited, make sure you're on the text list to get on the text list to be invited to this class as well. Just text the word morning, MORNING, to the number 87948. Text morning to the number 87948. All right, so let me ask y'all this quick question. This relates to something I was thinking about in terms of economics. Believe it or not, this is an economic conversation. How many of you heard about Simone Biles's mother? I think her mother's name is Shannon. How many of you heard the story about Simone Biles' mom? Anybody hear that story and just kind of what happened with her? And it's similar. It seems somewhat similar to a lot the stories that happen in a lot of families. Sha'Carri Richardson. I remember when I heard Sha'Carri say that she smoked. She said she would smoke weed because she was dealing with the death of her. She said I was dealing with the death of my biological mom. And that's when I instantly knew something wasn't right. I said, who calls their mother their biological mom? That's kind of strange. Like she's not just your mom, like she's your biological mom. And that told me that there was something probably going on. I think she was raised by her grandmother or something like that. Simone Biles, another extraordinary athlete. Sha'Carri and Simone are very similar. They're both gold medalists in the Olympics, and they're both just the best on earth at what they do. Same thing. They're both very tiny too. That's interesting. Just these little tiny little sticks of dynamite that are just kicking butt and taking names. I'm very proud of both of them. And so Simone, her mother got interviewed, and apparently her mother spent some time, on drugs. And she was asked, hey, do you want to make contact with your daughter? And she lays out basically that if Simone reaches out to me, then that's fine, but I'm not going to initiate contact, which I thought was a respectful way to handle the question. I mean, what is she going to say? Like, I don't want to talk to her. I don't care nothing about her. And then if she actually initiates contact, then it looks like a money grab. It's like, oh yeah, yeah. Oh, now you want to talk to your daughter because now she's rich and famous, but you didn't want nothing to do with her when she was a little 4-year-old who had to have her diapers changed or whatever. And I think, well, maybe 4-year-olds shouldn't be wearing diapers. I don't know the exact age you're supposed to be potty trained, but anyway, but so the point is to say that this was interesting to me because this happens in so many of our families. Like, give me a yes in the chat. Let's just do a quick quick black check, black people check. How many of you had somebody in your family that had a mother or a father that was on drugs, and as a result of drugs, the mother or father did not do their job? How many of you, give me a yes or no if you've seen that, if you experienced that, if maybe you're coming back from drugs. If so, I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. All right. So what? Give me a yes if you've seen this up close and just how terrible this is. It's absolutely terrible. It's really, really sad. My father was on drugs. That's why I call him my biological father, right? If he wasn't on drugs, he'd just be my father. But because he was on drugs, he's my biological father. And it was heroin that got him. The heroin got him, and he was in jail and in and out and all that. And I didn't really have an interest in really getting to know the man, to be honest with you. I don't hate him. I don't even know him enough to love him or hate him. I just, and like Simone, I was lucky enough to have two parents that did step in, my mother and the man she married. And so I didn't feel like I was missing anything. It wasn't like I woke up every day saying, "Gosh, I need to go find my dad." I didn't feel. I was like, my dad's in the living room. Like that was my own experience. But this happens a lot. This happens a lot. I There was a young guy that reached out to me. He was a young rapper, and everybody's a rapper, I guess. And he was in his early 20s, and he reached out to me, and he happened to be the son of a friend, someone that I knew when I was very little. And she also, it's interesting, she's similar to Simone and Shakari in that his mother was really talented as an athlete. She one day I took her to track practice when she was little, and she ran a race the first day of track practice. Imagine this. It's way back in the day, 1980s or whatever. And in the first day of track practice, she lines up to race against a bunch of other little girls. And I remember suspecting, I said, I wonder how she would do against other little kids. Because I think I was maybe 14 or 15. She was like maybe 7. And she lined up with this one girl who literally was the national champion in the 100-meter dash, fastest girl in the country. And on the very first day of track practice, she beats this little girl. She literally beat the fastest 7-year-old in the nation on the first day. She didn't know what she was doing. She didn't know the gravity of what just happened. I said, "Oh my God!" And I remember I went to her mom and I said, you got to get her involved in track. Like she's a superstar. Maybe she's another Sha'Carri Richardson, right? And it didn't happen. The mother, her mom. I guess you parent, you're busy. I ain't got time to take kids to practice and all that. And so as a result, she didn't get involved in sports or anything like that. So she ends up actually getting hooked on drugs. And this is something that makes me think about the importance of getting your kids involved in activities and thinking about your children as an investment. I talk about investing a lot, but most of you, some people make the mistake of believing that investing usually involves money. And I'm going to make a clear point to you that most of your best investments, the most significant investments you make, are not going to have anything to do with cash. They're not going to be financial investments. The biggest investments you make are investments in people. So the investment in this child, or the lack thereof, to get her involved in an activity led to her getting caught up with the wrong crowd, trying to fit in. I told you the dangers of fitting in. Next thing you know, she's smoking crack and she's strung out, and then she has this baby. And so this kid, so here we go. Fast forward 25 years from now. I hope I don't get in trouble for telling this story, because I'm not going to name any names. I don't want anybody to feel bad. So 25 years later, this kid reaches out to me and says, "Hey, you know my mom?" And I said, "Really?" And I was like, "Really? Who's your mom?" And he tells me who his mom is. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. How's she doing?" And then he tells me a little bit, but not too much. And then he's like, "I want to send you your music." A lot of rappers send me their music, but if you're a rapper, don't send me your music. I can't make you famous. I don't know any of these Jewish guys that run the record labels. I can't get you a record deal. So don't. But I have rappers send me stuff because I don't know what they think I'm like, I'll listen to them. Like, it's a good song. So anyway, he sends me his music, and the first verse of the song was a verse about how when he was 11 years old, he had to pick his mother up off the bathroom floor because she'd overdosed. And I remember just my heart sinking like to the bottom of my stomach, and I was like, "Oh my God," like I knew when this person that he talks about as his drug addicted mother. I remember when she was a little kid with all this potential, right? Could have been a Shikari, could have been a Simone Biles, and to hear this story was just like, oh my God. And so we kept talking and we stayed in contact, but it really took me back to this thing that doesn't get discussed enough, this thing that infuriates me to the core of my soul, this thing that is very personal to me, this thing that destroys so much of our wealth in the community, this thing that hasn't been properly addressed, and that is what drugs have really done to our families, what drugs have really done to this community. See, if you were to put a financial value on what we lost when they started, when Project 1985 happened. Project 1980, I told y'all, people talk about Project 2025. I talk about things like Project 1985. Project 1985 was when the CIA put crack cocaine in the black communities. That project was very successful. Now, Project 2025, maybe it'll get passed, maybe it won't, but we know Project 1985 was a glaring success. The black genocide project it worked. You look everywhere, you see all these busted up families. It's not like there's anything unusual about Simone Biles hearing from her estranged mother 20 something years later when she should have been hearing from her every day when she was 2. Instead, she's hearing from her at the age of 27 after being raised by her grandparents. That is a consistent thing. And if you were to put a financial value on this, it would probably be in the tens of trillions of dollars. See, you have to really, if you really want to understand, if you understand economics kind of the way I do, you can see where a busted up family with ruined potential, with children that could have been millionaires, could have been successful, could have done all these great things. Instead, they're scrambling, they're trying to find something to eat because mama is out getting high, daddy's out getting high, and the family falls apart. And a family that is in that kind of a struggle is almost never going to be able to build any wealth. They're just not. And then maybe they'll get lucky. Somebody will be good at basketball or good at rapping and they'll get a record deal. But even then, that wealth is usually going to be destroyed because the kids haven't, nobody invested in the children. Nobody taught the kids how to manage their wealth. If you go watch shows like Love and Hip Hop, all you see is this whole generation of young kids who many of whom did not have parents because their parents were in prison or on dope. So when they get these opportunities, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know anything about capital preservation. They don't listen to a nerd like Dr. Boyce Watkins. They're going to go listen to some rapper who went through the same thing that they went through, even though I'm like, no, 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 I understand. I had a parent on drugs too. I'm black like you. I promise you. Just don't let my PhD scare you, but it doesn't matter. There are people that say, oh, he ain't got that old guy. He ain't got nothing interesting to say. I ain't listening to him. He ain't lit. He ain't Cardi B. So they're going to go listen to somebody else. And next thing you know, they end up ruining their lives. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, gosh, this is very frustrating to watch because I can see it all happening. You know, when you get to the stage that I'm at, it becomes almost like watching a fatal train crash in slow motion and watching it happen over and over again. I'll give you an example. There's this interesting couple, but the guy, his name is Blueface. Anybody heard of Blueface? And he's got this girl, baby mama girlfriend, Krishan Rock. And Blueface and Krishan Rock are basically today's version of Bobby and Whitney. That's what they are. They're literally the 21st century version of Bobby and Whitney all over again. Exact same thing. So Blueface, I first heard about Blueface. Let me tell you when I first heard about Blueface was when he was on, they put him online. We like to market the most dysfunctional people. If you're normal and functional and you make good decisions, you are not going to be interesting to BET. You're not going to be interesting to most black entertainment platforms. You have to be crazy, you got to be self-destructive, you have to be damn near suicidal, you have to hate black women, you have to hate yourself, you have to do everything to destroy your life, and then they might give you some attention. If you're healthy and making good choices, they're not going to pay attention to you. So Blueface, literally, I didn't know who he was, and he said something like, "I had sex with 5,000 women this year," or something insane like that. Something like, and I'm sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, no wonder AIDS is everywhere. No wonder HIV is like out of control. Like, and we're celebrating this. Like, we think that this is funny or this is interesting." I'm like, "No, people are gonna die. This is Magic Johnson times 1,000. Like, are you? Because somebody needs to call the CDC. What's their number? 664." No, nobody did that. Everybody's like, ah, ha, 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 ah, he did. It was very interesting, right? That's when I heard about Blueface. And Blueface was, from what I understand, there was kind of a drug thing kind of happening, right? Then Krishan was interesting because she had this big tooth missing. Anybody seen Krishan? You gotta look her up. She had this big old tooth missing, like Mike Tyson or something. And I was like, why is this lady missing her teeth? And she had her boyfriend's face tattooed, I think, on her neck. And so on her neck, it was a big tattoo of Blueface, and a lot of drinking, a lot of wilding out. And then they have this baby who my wife strongly suspects could be a victim of fetal alcohol syndrome, which really, really destroyed the neurological functioning of a child. Fetal alcohol syndrome, a lot of people don't know this, but this is a multi-trillion-dollar problem in the black community because what it's doing is it's destroying one of your most valuable assets, which is your children. You can't thrive as a community if your next generation is all jacked up. So basically, millions and millions of women, because the hip hop is promoting this city girl lifestyle, this whole like do what you want to do, be wild out, act a fool, whatever. Well, a lot of times, if you are a person who does what some of the students at Syracuse University used to do this, and I remember speaking up about that back then, and I would get a lot of pushback because again, I didn't fit in. Like, why are you criticizing the fact that we like to get drunk every weekend? And I said, because you're ruining kids' lives. There was another. I got into a big argument with another professor. Because I said I'm on your Black law student list. They had a list serve, and somehow I ended up on this list. And I said, how come every single time you are promoting an event, you're always talking more about the alcohol than you're talking about the elevation? Like, all you're talking about is how they can come out and drink, 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 drink. And I said, you do understand, number one, attorneys have among the highest alcoholism rates around, and number two, you do understand how many young people ruin their lives because old people are not, because we're so busy trying to fit in. We're so busy trying to be one of your little friends that we don't understand our job is to provide guidance and to challenge you and to say, hey, stop that, man. That's not going to help you. Let me tell you what happens at the end of that road. He and I really got into it over this. And it turns out, I found out later on, oh, I get it now. He's an alcoholic too. So he thinks this is all okay. When I thought about all of the people in my family that have been destroyed by liquor, I thought about all the people in my family who've been destroyed by drugs. I thought about all the lost wealth and potential that occurs when you have a functioning, intelligent person who could have done great things, who is laying in the gutter as an alcoholic and a drug addict, who's not raising their kids, who's not doing anything productive. You can't be productive if you are being counterproductive. You can't rise if you are sinking to the bottom. You can't become a leader if you are simply trying to be a degenerate follower. You can't be great if your goal is to be sub-mediocre. You cannot thrive and be strong and healthy if your goal is to get up every day and to figure out ways to poison your body. That doesn't make any sense. And I don't understand what makes me the extremist. What's extreme to me is this idea that you are in this world and you don't love yourself enough to even know that you should preserve yourself, protect yourself, take care of yourself. It doesn't make sense to me. But if a white person shoots you, then it's like, oh, these white people, they look at what they do in the yeah. I'm like, but look at what you did to yourself. Like, stop that, man. That's not healthy. So long story short, Krishan Rock and Blueface are in that whole culture, right? The new Bobby Whitney, the whole city girl thing. A lot of fetal alcohol syndrome is occurring with millions of children. I mean, neurologically busted because their moms are doing the city girl lifestyle, like drink, 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 and they go 6 to 8 weeks into their pregnancy without knowing that they're pregnant, and then they find out they're pregnant 6 weeks in. Let me know if you've seen this before, where a woman doesn't know she's pregnant until 6 or 8 weeks in, and the whole time she's been drink, 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 drinking. And you go look it up. Go look this up. Literally, if you've been drinking heavily during that first 4 to 6 weeks of that pregnancy, that baby is unfortunately in many cases kind of cooked. Most social workers, like my wife is a social worker. She's a full professor of social work. They are fully trained to look at a child's face and their behavior, and they can kind of, maybe wouldn't call it a diagnosis, but they can let you know when there's a strong suspicion that that child struggles with fetal alcohol syndrome. So if the mama is on Instagram holding up liquor bottles every weekend and then says, "Oh, guess what? I just found out that I'm pregnant." Unfortunately, this happens a lot, and she talked about it publicly a little bit. And unfortunately, when she did, she got a little polite message from Cardi B. Literally the next morning, my wife had Cardi B hit her DM up and said, "Good morning. You're going to hear from my lawyers." Because I think that she mentioned Cardi B and fetal alcohol syndrome, and Cardi likes to threaten to sue people and stuff. Nothing really followed up from that, but I said, okay, you got this message from Cardi B. You got to figure out what to do with that. I'm going to support you regardless, but now Cardi's mad at you, so that we don't know what that's going to look like. So anyway, with that being said, though, I just want you to kind of understand, when I see what's happening with Simone Biles' mother, when I see this woman who clearly has regrets, right? A lot of times we get older, we regret what we did when we were younger. Sometimes you look back and you say, "Man, I was so stupid. I made so many mistakes. Why did I do that?" So it sounds like she's trying to rebuild herself. And the thing that makes me saddest about this is that most of these problems can be prevented in the first place if we had a culture that was proactive instead of reactive. See, what you got to understand is that the same reasons that the black community is financially broke are connected to the same reasons that the black family is broken. It's the same idea. I've talked to you guys. My PhD's in finance. I have to say that so people don't so people can understand where I'm going with this. You got to understand that there's a mindset that a wealth builder carries that involves things like delayed gratification, proactive thinking, a type of consciousness where you say, look, I can't, this might feel good today, but this is going to really hurt tomorrow. See, that same idea applies when you got money in your pocket and you're thinking, do I invest my money so I can have money tomorrow, or do I take my money and go spend it at the liquor store? Because the people that say, well, let me just go to the liquor store, what's really happening is, number one, their consciousness is on a lower level. They're on a low dimensional type of consciousness. They're not thinking long term, they're thinking short term. Short term means that drinking that whatever's in that bottle is gonna be more gratifying than making a sacrifice for the future. And in fact, I don't even think about the future because maybe I don't even believe that I have one. Or maybe I don't even believe that the future is ever going to get here. I'm 22 years old. I'm never going to be 42 years old, either because I'm going to be dead by then, or because my consciousness has never been elevated to the point where I've been forced to look at what my life is going to look like 10 years down the line if I continue down this path. Proactive versus reactive. So what happens is that because my consciousness is on level 0 and I'm living for today and I'm trying to fit in. Remember, that's the culture. When they talk about the culture, to hell with the culture. I don't care about the culture. I'm gonna go stop in at InvestFest because I love what those guys are doing. But the one thing that I'm not in alignment with, the reason I should never be invited to speak on that stage, is because I ain't trying to fit into the damn culture unless it's a healthy culture. I'm not fitting into a loser culture. I'd never want to be part of that because the culture trains you to think on level 1 when you need to be operating on level 10. It trains you to let your guard down when you really, as a black person, need to have your head on a swivel. It trains you to think about instant gratification instead of being committed to delayed gratification. So the culture incentivizes black self-destruction. Because let me tell you like this, let me give you an example to make it plain. Give me a yes or no if you agree with this assessment. I'm going to make the assessment that if a lot of people wonder why I rock with the Nation of Islam so hard. Well, let me give you an example to help you understand why. It's the culture. Let me explain why. Let me ask y'all a question. If Simone Biles' mother was spending time with ladies and men from the Nation of Islam as a young woman, do you believe that she would have ended up on dope? Yes or no? If she was spending time talking to people, the types of people I love to talk to, people like Brother Nuri Muhammad, who's coming to the All Black National Convention, by the way, he's a great friend, I respect him. If she was listening to Farrakhan, if she's listening to sisters from the Nation of Islam, right? Ava Muhammad, do you really think? Do you think that she would have ended up on dope? What do you think? Do you think that the same thing would have happened? What do you think? If you say yes, then you're crazy. Not one of you has said yes because you know the obvious answer to this. It's culture. It's just all culture. When she decided that going to the party and getting high for the first time was a good idea, there was somebody around her who said, "Yeah, girl, let's go to the party. It's fun. There's gonna be dudes there." Right? So the culture is see, this is a culture that costs you trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in lost black wealth, because you can't build wealth if you can't build family. So when they destroy your family, they're destroying your wealth, but then they're also destroying things that money can't buy. There's no amount of money that Simone Biles can make that's going to make up for whatever pain she must have felt at the age of 5, wondering like, why hasn't my mama come home for the last 3 days? I can only imagine the void in her soul that is there. I'm sorry. I don't get, you get all the therapy in the world, and I can only imagine how that must feel to know your mama ain't nowhere around and you're just a little, you're a preschooler. That's got to be crazy. That poor thing. And the sad part about it is that I know a lot of people like that. I know other kids who say, yeah, when I was 4, I had to cook for my brother and my sister because my mother was out smoking crack. Or my mother was pregnant with my sister, and when this is true story, and she wanted to kill the baby, so she said, I'm gonna smoke as much crack as I can while I'm pregnant to make sure this baby doesn't live, and the baby survives anyway. Now the baby has all these behavior problems. This is what they did to you. This is what they did to you. And I don't understand why some of y'all are so forgiving. Some of y'all act like it never happened. Some of y'all like, yeah, yeah, but that's the past. No, it's not. It's all around you. That's why your family's all jacked up. That's why your wealth is negative zero. Right? That's why you're struggling in so many different ways. That's why your communities are full of violence and 109 people got shot in Chicago in one weekend. What are you talking about? What who taught you to just act like it never happened? Because I'm gonna hold a grudge. I'm not letting it go. And so if you want to have a conversation about the economics, you got to understand this. This is an important thing to realize. The economic conversation is like a level 5 conversation. And it's very hard to have a level 5 conversation with somebody with a level 1 culture. It's very hard. If you can't have a level 5 discussion with somebody with a level 2 mentality. So what happens is that when your basics are not there, when you're literally struggling with the fact that you and your siblings had nobody to protect you when you were a kid and you had no food to eat, it's very hard for me to come along and talk to you about the benefits of stock market investing because you're dealing with the fact that you were traumatized from the fact that your mama didn't feed you when you were 6. So this is one point that's really important, and I've been saying this consistently. Kamala Harris started using these exact words, and I'm very happy that somebody in her administration is sharing this language with her. Hopefully, it'll be followed by action. But I've mentioned to you all 1,000 times that the number one wealth problem in the Black community is undiagnosed, untreated trauma. Undiagnosed, untreated trauma. I'm going to keep repeating it. I want you to go look in the world, and I want you to find out watch how many people start using this term eventually, because this is just like the wealth thing. In 2006, nobody talked about the wealth stuff. I talked about it every single day. Then suddenly wealth becomes kind of a thing. I believe repetition is how you get there. You have to be an extremist in this. So I'm very extreme in terms of being extreme and consistent about reiterating to you that what's happened to the Black family is the greatest wealth killer that you can ever imagine. And it didn't just kill your money, it killed things that money cannot buy. So with that said, one thing I'll say about Simone Biles' mother, and I hope that that works out for her. I don't know how that's going to play out. I think it's up to them to figure out how they want to manage that. But one thing that comes to mind as well is I've talked to you about how your children are part of your portfolio. That even though we look at children, society teaches you to look at children as this, what they call in economics, we call that a luxury item. And the luxury item is just something you spend money on because you got extra money to burn. It's something that is a nuisance, really. Like, okay, I'm gonna spend money on these kids, but I'm not gonna have no kids because I can't afford it. And I get that. I'm not judging anybody's decision to have children or not have children. What I am gonna say though is that what you see when you look at the whole process full circle, is you realize that your children and how you raise them is a critical aspect of your retirement plan. What people don't discuss at all is that America is on the verge of the greatest retirement crisis in the history of this country. Not only is Social Security struggling because your government is in a massive amount of debt, pension plans are disappearing because companies have underfunded pensions. But then on top of that, people have not saved for retirement. So when you get to retirement and you haven't saved for retirement, you have no money in the bank, and you're trying to figure out how to have a place to live. Where do you go? What's going to happen? I hope that you invested in some chillums. I hope you invested in some kids. I hope that you have some responsible, intelligent children that can step up and say, "Don't worry, mama, we got you. Don't worry about it, daddy. You can come stay with me. I'll take care of you." I hope that you made that investment when you were young. I mean, but the problem is a lot of people didn't because the culture tells you like you're 32 years old. Why don't you go get some? Go ahead and be a freak. Get your freak on. Go get you some ladies and be a ladies man. And you're not thinking like an investor. Investors don't just look at what's around them right now. Investors are looking at the what ifs of their lives. So the question that a lot of young Black men don't ask is like, well, what if I get disabled? They don't ask like, well, what if I get old? Which you are, by the way. I can confirm I'm 53. I'm not 33 anymore, and it doesn't feel the same. I go to the gym, I work out, I do all that stuff. So to try to, have some strength and longevity. But 53 and 33 ain't the same. Things change. This instant gratification mindset where you say, why would I invest in family? Or why would I invest in having one woman when I can have five? Or why would I invest in having kids when I can go and be a city girl and get my freak on? Just know that that is a choice, a trade-off that a lot of people regret later on. I really wish that black folks in their 40s and 50s, black men in their 40s and 50s could have honest conversations with black men in their 20s and 30s. And I wish black women in their 40s and 50s could have private honest conversations with black women in their 25 that are 25, 30 years old. I think that there would be some benefit to that because a lot of people make bad strategic moves because they're trying to fit into a culture that is ultimately harmful and self-destructive, not just a wealth killer, but also a killer of all the things that are more important than money. Let me move on to another point here. And before I do that, just a reminder, don't forget tomorrow, Cody Ransom, in case you just came in, Cody Ransom is going to do a special event in the Black Business School on Black Wall Street, the real history of Black Wall Street. You saw Cody yesterday. He's dynamic. He's extraordinary. And so if you want to get an invitation to that event, make sure you're on our text list. You'll also get an invitation to join the private Zoom for Money in the Morning, our economic elevation training that we do 7 days a week. It's totally free to anybody that wants to participate. You don't have to pay money. All you have to do is pay attention. So if you'd like to get on the text list, text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. Text morning to 87948. Also, for those of you that want to join the B1 Travel Club, I told you all how great the trip to Egypt was. If you go to my Instagram, Dr. Boyce Finance, there's a lot of pictures from our Egypt trip. And I found that taking a group of like-minded people on a trip made the trip 100 times more enjoyable. So we're going to do other trips. We're going to go visit Black Wall Street next year. We're also going to go to Ghana and South Africa. So if you'd like to be notified when we set up those trips, there is probably going to sell out. The last one sold out very, very quickly. If you'd like to be notified first, join the B1 Travel Club. You can do that by texting the word travel to the number 87948. So those are two different lists to get different information from the Black Business School. We always have a lot of stuff going on. So text the word travel to 87948. So let me hop into another thing. I think today should be called Mother's Day because I was thinking about Simone Biles' mother, and just obviously there's regrets that she probably has, especially given, I mean, think about it, your daughter is like literally the greatest gymnast in the history of the world. Do you know that they've named several moves after Simone that because nobody else can do them? Like there have four or five different tricks on the thing where they flip around that they call the Simone or the Biles or something, and because nobody else can do them, and that's crazy, right? So she probably has regrets about that. And one of the biggest challenges that she may end up facing, obviously, is that as she gets older, she's not really going to have the children there for her the way that she would if she'd had made different decisions when she was younger. So the next thing that came to mind, and the reason I want to call this Mother's Day is because I saw this other interesting story. Literally, I saw this morning. And there's this WNBA player who's apparently pretty good named Darica Hamby. Anybody know about Darica Hamby? I don't know if you know about her or know about what happened with her. Let me explain. So she had this coach, this white lady named Becky Hammond and Hamby. The names sound kind of similar, and basically Darica apparently she got pregnant and the coach did not approve. The coach, sent a bunch of really crazy text messages like, you know, did you plan this pregnancy and why are you having a baby? You're not committed to the team. I think you did it on purpose. You signed your contract knowing that you were pregnant. You done a and so she really gave her a hard time, which really was interesting to me because it's kind of crazy. Like we talk about how hard men can be on women, but then we never talk about how hard women can be on women. Some women can just be really nasty to each other. It's kind of crazy to see that. So she was really, really, really railing on her. And Darica apparently revealed the text messages, and now people are calling for the coach to be fired. And Darica, for the record, is a very good basketball player. She got traded to another team because her coach assumed she wasn't committed, and she's averaging 19 points a game. That's pretty good. 19 points a game means you're a good player. But let's talk specifically though about the deeper thing happening here, right? So here you have Darica. She went through the same thing that my Dr. Myron Roll went through. Dr. Myron Roll, who's a friend of mine, he was an All-American defensive back at Florida State, got drafted in the NFL draft, and he said, I don't want to go to the NFL right now. I want to go become a Rhodes Scholar because eventually I want to be a medical doctor. Well, the same thing happened to him. they kind of said, "Oh, you're not committed. You're not really serious." And he was serious. But he was serious not just about football. He was serious about life. So he goes off, becomes a Rhodes Scholar, comes back to the NFL. I think he was a Pro Bowler several times and had a great career. And now he's a neurosurgeon at Harvard University, or he just finished his residency at Harvard. So congratulations to Dr. Roll. He sent me a message on Instagram or Twitter, and I think I have his book around. He said, I want to send you my book. I don't have it anywhere. So just so you know, Dr. Roll, sorry, man, I didn't read your book, but I respect you. So anyway, long story short, this kind of happens a lot, right? When you have people that this made me think about the fact that when you are black in America, and we have some of the best athletes on earth, one of the interesting things that can happen, whether you're an athlete or an employee at a factory, is that we tend to be commodified. And I've talked about the commodification of black people before. This all comes back from slavery, that the capitalist machine sees your talent and they extract resources from you just like any other colonialist power would, right? Just like they extract oil out of Nigeria, they're going to extract talent and athletes out of the black community. And then what happens is that the idea of them sort of seeing you as a human being and caring about you as a human kind of goes out the window because you're just a commodity. You're just sold. It's like you're bought and sold, like any other asset. And to some extent, it's business, right? I get it. They have a team to run. They have to make their money, but at the same time, it takes away your ability and your right to be seen as a human being. You really are seen as less than three-fifths of a person, not three-fifths of a person. You're seen as less than three-fifths of a person because you see with Dorica and Dr. Roll, it was a scenario where they said, "Look, I know what plan you have for my life, but here's the plan I have for my life, and my plan for my life." Must supersede the plan you have for my life. And this is where we had a conversation about this. Y'all remember that? Where I talked about the difference between Massa's plan, your plan, and God's plan. And to summarize it, I said, look, Massa's plan needs to be lowest priority. Massa has a plan for you. If you're black and you're born in America, especially when you have something that they need, whether it's your labor or it's your talent or it's your creativity, or even if they just want to lock you up in a penitentiary and make money from you, Massa always has a plan for you, which is really the danger of us allowing other people to educate and indoctrinate our children. That's what happens because Massa got a plan for you, just like the KFC chickens we talked about yesterday. Every chicken that's born in a farm, there's a plan for that chicken. We gonna get you fat and juicy. We're gonna get you down to the factory so we can chop your head off and eat you. Right? That's their plan for you. Right? So Massa has a plan for you, just like he has for the chickens, where they're gonna commodify you and extract some sort of resource from you. But then comes in your plan. So Dorica says, no, no, no. My plan is I want to be a mother. I'm 30 years old. It's time for me to have a child, and that's going to have to disrupt, or we're going to have to find a way to allow me to be a basketball player and to be a mom. And I'm just going to say this: I support that 100%. I am cheering for you, girl. I love the fact that you stood up for yourself, because you didn't just stand up for yourself, you stood up for your child. Because at the end of the day, there's no job. Again, this is my bias here. Maybe some people disagree, but I don't believe that there's a single job on the planet more important than the job of being a mother. Tell me if you agree. I don't think there's any job more important. If mothers stopped doing their jobs tomorrow, society would crumble. Every kid would grow up and want to be a serial killer. Nothing would function if mothers stopped doing their jobs. So shout out to the mothers out here. I appreciate you. I love you. And I want to say thank you for fighting battles for you. If my mother had not fought endless battles for me when I was a baby, I would not be here talking to you today. Maybe I'd be off in the corner smoking crack or something. I wouldn't be Boyce Watkins if it wasn't for my mama. So don't thank me, thank my mama, because she could have been off getting high. So anyway, with that being said, with Dorica having the baby at the age of 30, there was some functional thoughts that I had on this, and I want to try to summarize this in a way that doesn't sound crazy. But the first functional thought that I had was, I said, okay, so having a child, she seems to understand. I hope she gets this. That's an investment. That's an investment in your future. That's her sort of acknowledging, like, look, I'm not going to be a basketball player forever. One day I'm going to be 50 or 60, and I want to have a 20 or 30-year-old child next to me that I can say, hey, I invested in this person. I didn't just invest in my athletic career. And this lady, this coach, is saying, no, 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 no. Everything that matters is what you're doing on the court. That's all that matters right now. You need to sacrifice everything in your present and in your future in order to be the best basketball player you can be. And that's not an optimal investment. See, optimization, and we talk about this a lot in mathematics. When I was teaching math at the University of Kentucky, all we talked about was optimization of an equation, right? So, optimization of your life does not mean that you simply do what's best for yourself right now. It doesn't just mean that you do what's going to work out for you the best right in this moment. You have to think about your future self, and you got to kind of balance all those things, right? So you give yourself a little bit of instant gratification, but then you got to give yourself some long-term gratification. You got to make some investments and sacrifices so that you can benefit long-term. So that's what she was doing by having this baby. Why was that a good decision? Well, from a practical standpoint, I did research on this, and did you know? I don't know if y'all knew this or not. Did you know women's eggs? And this is, I hope I don't sound sexist when I say this because I'm just reciting biology. I hope that that's not bad now because I know people tell us, like they tell us things like that, you know, men with beards can have babies and stuff, and biology apparently is a crime. But let me, if it's okay, I'm going to recite some biology that I researched, and I was looking at quality of eggs for women at different stages in life. And a woman's eggs actually are in their highest quality, just for the record, when she's about 27 to 29 years old. That's when the eggs are just like ripe and prime and you're ready, you know, and it shows itself in like heightened sexuality. Like we think that people being horny is all about getting their freak on and being nasty. No, it's your body saying, "Come on, we're gonna have this baby. We're gonna get it popping. Oh, you can have a baby with him, or maybe him, or maybe him." That's what your body kind of does. It's just reality. So sexuality is very natural. And then when you hit 30, they said that the eggs are still high quality, but there is the beginning of a decline in the quality of eggs, and that means there's a slightly increased likelihood that something's going to go wrong, a miscarriage, a deformity, Down syndrome, or something like that. And check this out. I looked up. I said, so what's the difference between 30 and 33? They said there's a big difference between 30 and 33, that difference really becomes big. And after 33 and beyond, you're talking about extremely high risk pregnancies, not just in terms of a miscarriage, but in terms of the baby just coming out healthy. So what Dorica was doing, in my opinion, was making an optimal investment decision. She's like, look, I'm gonna keep playing basketball. I'm gonna average 19 points a game, but I gotta take a minute, go have this baby so that I can make sure that I'm investing in the other parts of my life. And I have no problem with that. And I think that was great because really long term, what you're going to realize when you're on your deathbed is that your investments in people are going to matter far more than any investment you made in your career. It's going to matter a whole lot more than any investment you ever made in the stock market. It's going to matter a whole lot more than any investment you ever made in real estate. So again, I go back to that simple point that don't think that investing typically involves money. Money is like a tiny part of investing. It's like the universe of investing is this big. Money is like that. Money's like a little tiny part of it. So shout out to Dorica. I'm really proud of what you did. I think that was a great move. Now, the last Mother's Day discussion I wanted to bring up, again, I just decided to call this Mother's Day. I decided this like 15 minutes before we started because I kept saying, gosh, the theme of God keeps sending me messages about motherhood today. So today's Mother's Day. So here's another thing that I saw that was really interesting. So Sylvester Stallone, who made all the Rocky movies, they were asking him about the first time he won an Oscar, the first Oscars that he went to. And he said, he talks like this. He said, well, it was the saddest day of my life. And they said, well, what happened? And he said, well, he said a year before, I'm not going to use my Sylvester Stallone voice anymore because I'm not very good at it. But anyway, he said a year before I was I was destitute, I was broke. I then suddenly I make this movie, and now I'm in the best picture category with some of the best writers and directors in Hollywood. And he said that they invited me to the Oscars and they put me in the front row. And he said I had one more ticket. So he said, so I called my mother and I said, hey ma, we got invited to the Oscars. And he says, I'd like for you to go with me. And his mother says, well, I'm only going to go to the Oscars if I can take Vivian. And he's like, well, who's Vivian? Right? He didn't know who Vivian was. And she said, Vivian's my hairdresser. And he goes, well, I only have one ticket, just me and you. I can't bring Vivian. And she says, well, I'm not going to go then. And so at his first Oscars, Sylvester Stallone sat in the first row by himself because his mother didn't want to attend. I don't know I guess he didn't have a girlfriend at the time. And so this was interesting to me because what it made me think about is the challenge that people have when you're climbing up the ladder and you're trying to elevate, but you're dealing with a really small-minded person. You're dealing with somebody who, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to the highest height. I want to be a millionaire. I want to make $1 million decisions. I want to have $1 million accomplishments. But you're dealing with people around you, maybe in your own family, maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your best friend, or maybe it's a sibling who is stuck like on level one, and they're engaged in this very small-minded thinking, and it can be really depressing. I thought I felt really bad for Stallone because I said, "Oh my God, this has got to be terrible." You're going through one of the greatest moments of your life, the greatest moment of your life, and you want your mother there with you, and your mother's like, "No, I'm not going unless I can take my hairdresser." And so what it made me think about is, first off, I want to encourage you, as you deal with that, as you deal with those small-minded people that are distracting you from the big things that you're doing. Maybe they're a little bit jealous. Maybe they don't want to be supportive. Maybe somehow they just can't think on that same level. Um, I want to encourage you, right? You're going to have to really have a mindset to be able to accept the idea that they're just not ready to go with you. I heard a pastor say, I think I mentioned this earlier, but I'll say it again. He said something like, "Not everybody at the train station is there to get on the train. Some people are there just to wave you off and say goodbye." And I think about that when I think about how I can guarantee you this, that as you climb the ladder of your life and you set big goals and you become extreme about your choices, you are going to have some people that are going to just fall off. You're going to have some people that are just not going to be ready for the next level, like just like the rocket that goes into space and it drops the boosters or whatever after it gets to a certain altitude. And this is what I thought about when I saw Sylvester Stallone. It's not to say that he had to cut his mother off, but it's just sad that you're all inspired and enthusiastic about your vision. Your vision's finally coming to life, and you want to take your mother with you, and all she can really think about is whether or not she can bring her hairdresser. And this is common. This is the common denominator for a lot of people. I would say that one solution is, if you're a big dreamer and a big goal setter and a big achiever, you want to be thoughtful and conscious about the company you keep, the way you connect with others, who you even share your vision with. I personally don't share my vision with people who don't have any vision. I don't. I will not share my vision with you unless you are a fellow visionary. I won't do it because if you are the person who's small minded and telling me all the reasons why it won't work, and I have to spend a stressful hour explaining to you why the thing that you think is impossible is actually possible, then I don't want to have that conversation with you. I'm just not going to have that conversation with you. I have a few friends that I have that I can talk about anything. I can say, I want to build a rocket ship to Mars in 2 weeks, and they'll be like, "Wow, okay, tell me more." And you can explore, right? And they're going to be okay with that. But then you have some people, no matter what it is, they're going to always tell you that it's not possible. And it's very depressing because peer pressure affects everyone. I've read studies on this. See, here's the thing. We think we can just rise above peer pressure and ignore it. No, peer pressure affects everybody. At every age, in every stage. So, to me, this is an opportunity for you to shape your peer pressure in a way that's going to propel you forward. So, don't spend time around people who are like the person you used to be. Spend time around people who are like the person that you want to be. The person that you want to be is the person that matters, and you need people that are going to kind of pull you in that direction so that you can become more the person that you want to be. And that is another aspect of proactive thinking. So those are some of my thoughts. For today. I hope that this was beneficial. I hope that you learned a few things. And here's the thing: all this, you may or may not see this, but all of this was an investing conversation. Every bit of it. The mindset of an investor is always a person who's looking forward and up. They're not looking down. They're not looking back. You understand? So if you have an investor's mindset, when you come to the family and you say, "Let's form a family fund so that we can raise $1 million and eventually buy up the block," there's going to be some relatives who are going to say that's not possible. Nobody can buy the block. That's not possible. And I'm like, and at that point, it's obviously a stupid statement because white people do it all the time. Well, they're investors. There's thousands of investors, but people that have that mindset, you may want to either bless them and release them, or let them stay where they are. Just let them stay on level one, and then you go off and do your level 5, level 6 stuff, and then eventually maybe they're going to come around and start asking questions, and then you can bring them along. But it has to be done on your terms because this shit is hard. High achievement is difficult. Being your best is hard. All of us go through a process where we're addicted to who we used to be. Every one of us is an addict. We're all addicted to who we were yesterday, and you're trying to release yourself from that person and become something better. Every one of us, myself included. It is hard as hell to elevate and change and grow. It is so difficult. Growing pains occur every morning I get up and I'm feeling growing pains. So the last thing I need is somebody in my ear who's going to keep on tugging me back and making it harder for me to take that next step. I want to be around people that are going to inspire me, propel me, encourage me, give me ideas, help me solve problems, help me move forward, help me become a better man. I do not want to spend time around people who are constantly begging me to become mediocre like them or become the man that I used to be, because that man is dead. Boyce Watkins from 2023, he is a dead man. I want nothing to do with him. I only want Boyce 2.0. So every day you get up, I encourage you to keep these thoughts in mind, and that will propel you not just in investing in your financial side of your life, it'll propel you in all the aspects of investing, because investors have to have courage and a commitment to a vision that is bigger and more significant than the one that they're surrounded by right now. So if you're gonna be an investor, then go freaking be one and stop letting these small-minded, weak little scared ass people slow you down. That's all I have to say. I am done. Thank you for listening. I will see you all in the morning. So if you want to be notified when we do Money in the Morning, make sure you get on the text list. Text the word morning to 87948. I'll send you a reminder. Some of you got the reminder this morning. The Cody Ransom event for Black Wall Street, that's going to be tomorrow night, Friday night at 8 p.m. I will send you all a link to that event later on this afternoon. So make sure you're on the text list. Text morning to 87948. Or if you live overseas, you can just go to drboyceelevate.com. Third, the Black Investors Championships are going to start on August 19th, and the winner will get lifetime access to the Black Business School as well as the Black Investors Cup that I'll mail to you personally. If you'd like to join, I will send you all a link to join. Everybody in Money in the Morning can actually get in the competition for free. So I'll send you all a link later on today to join if you want to. Everybody's going to get $50,000 in fake money, and you're going to get 6 weeks to invest in the stock market simulator. And whoever has the most money after 6 weeks is the winner. And the other piece to that too is you will have a requirement that you have to own at least 10 stocks, and you can't put more than 10% of your wealth in any one stock. So this is not gambling. This is about investing, because I want us to be the greatest investors on the earth. We are going to become the Kobe Bryants of economics, and we're going to be prepared for economic competition. And it's a long-term plan. It's part of Project 2070. I started Project 2070 in the year 2013, and the goal is that by the year 2070, B1 people are going to lead the world when it comes to economics and wealth. That's going to be our legacy. That's what the kids are going to remember, and we're going to get it done. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. God bless you, and I'll talk to you guys a little bit later. Have a good one.